In this video lesson, we're going to take a quick walkthrough of the features in the oscillator section of Reason's Subtractor, which is a great kind of basic subtractive synthesis model. Great way to get started. Everything's on one page, no hidden menus. So let's jump in. Oscillator 1, Oscillator 2, you can see they're very, very similar as far as features go. So waveform selection, start with a sawtooth wave, and I raised filter 1 cutoff point all the way so we can hear all the harmonics. So I'll just play middle C here. And there's our square wave. You can see the image of a square wave, but it's of the variable pulse wave family, which we'll come back to later in a bit. Square, triangle, and sine. Then after your first four periodic waveforms that Subtractor gives you, they give you a wave, what's called a wave table, or a table of other pre-made waveforms that they've put in there. And they're periodic waveforms, but they're not of the traditional saw, triangle, square, sine family. Okay? All right, so here's waveform number 5 that they give you. Sounds like a little hybrid, kind of a sawtooth wave. There's number 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Some of these almost FM synthesis sounding in their character. All the way up through 32. Okay, so let's go back to sawtooth there, and again, available in both oscillators. Octaves, all the way down to, let me play that C again, and I'll just drag down. There's 0. All the way up to 9. So let's go back to our starting point of 4 right there. Okay. Semitones, 0, no change at all, playing a C again. If I play the note C and go up one semitone, you hear the note C sharp, the note D, the note D sharp, E, etc. All the way up 12 semitones an octave. Okay. Cents, every semitone is divided into 100 cents. So what Subtractor gives you is you can tune each oscillator 50 cents sharp, so a quarter tone sharp, or a quarter tone flat minus 50. All right. Now the power of the cents, or the detuning here, comes when we turn on both oscillators. So let me bring that back to 0. Turn on oscillator 2. Now let me play oscillator 1, and then I'll turn on oscillator 2. You'll hear the difference. Okay. So you can hear a doubling in amplitude there. Now I'm going to tune this oscillator 1 sharp. If you've ever seen a guitarist tune a guitar where they're hitting the harmonics on the 5th and 7th frets, you hear a beating frequency and they tune the strings until the beating goes away. We're going to actually detune these so we start hearing that, what's called a beat frequency. So here we go. Great way to easily fatten up a patch when you've got both oscillators going. Let me detune this one flat. And you can hear as I detune, I get a faster beat frequency. All right. So I'm getting some comb filtering, kind of phasey effects there, along with the beat frequency. Great way to fatten up a patch. Let's bring those back to 0 quickly here. And there we go. All right. Okay. The mix control. Let me change waveforms on oscillator 2 here to square wave. All right. So let me dial all the way to the left. Oscillator 1, all the way to the right. Oscillator 2, any place in between. Okay. While we're working on the mix control here, oscillator 2 and the noise generator share the same side of the mix bus, which is the right side. All right. Right now I'll turn oscillator 2 off. Let me play a note. I'll play and hold a note here. Playing C. There's oscillator 1, oscillator 2. So I need to turn oscillator 2 on if I want to hear it, or the noise generator on if I want to hear it. Or I can turn on both, and now I can vary the level of the noise generator, kind of staying with the mix concept here, by going to level. So let me bring back the level of the noise. And now I can use the mix control to kind of blend all those 3 items together. So your mix for oscillator 1 and 2, and then your noise with its own level control there. Let's turn that off. Turn that off. Okay. Let's stay up at the top here and look at this phase control. Specifically, I'm going to go to the the square wave here, which is of the variable pulse wave family. Okay, there's more details in the readings on D2L in the sources and waveform sections about the variable pulse and its square wave. That's in there. The square wave, perfectly square, symmetrical on both sides of the waveform, the positive and negative domains. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to vary the phase of the waveform here, and you'll hear me. As I sweep this back and forth, you're going to hear the harmonic signature of the square wave change. So right now, I'll play and hold a key, move this, don't hear anything. I'm going to have to go to the subtractive mode right here, and now that will allow me to vary the phase of the waveform. So let me play and hold a key. Okay. Now, when we come to the LFO section, we'll see how useful it can be to use the LFO to vary that phase and automate that to fatten up our sound. Okay, let me go back to just the regular mode here. All right. While we're up here, let's go to keyboard tracking. C major scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Turn keyboard tracking off, and now the oscillator no longer tracks the pitch as I play up the keyboard. So I'll play a C major scale again. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. You don't hear any change in pitch. So that's what keyboard tracking is right there. All right. Staying up here, let's go to FM synthesis. I'll keep keyboard tracking on. And I am going to go ahead and dial, play a key, and change where it says FM, frequency modulation, which refers to FM synthesis, frequency modulation synthesis, which we'll come to in detail in the distortion chapter synthesis readings on D2L. Now I'm going to change to sine wave here, and sine wave down here. Let me play that again. There we go. We don't hear any change. That's because I need to have a modulator, frequency FM modulation. I need to have a modulator to modulate the frequency or the sound of oscillator 1, and my modulator is going to be oscillator 2. So let me turn on oscillator 2. I'm going to play and hold a key here. Turn on oscillator 2. Still hear nothing. Turn on oscillator 2. We hear a little something. And now, as you see, as I dial up the amount of frequency modulation, you hear a change in what you might think are harmonics. The term when we're talking frequency modulation is not harmonics, but it's sidebands. So oscillator 2 is actually producing sidebands for what we're hearing on oscillator 1. All right. Let me go ahead and just to show you here, let me change the octave on oscillator 2. Oops. Okay. Let me put that down. Now let me create some inharmonic sidebands by detuning by semitones. Okay, get some pretty wild sounds there. So that's FM synthesis. Let me turn that off. And let me turn oscillator 2 off. Go back to sawtooth wave right there. And let's bring in the ring modulation. Now, ring modulation is essentially going to it's going to multiply the amplitude of the oscillators 1 and 2 when I turn on oscillator 2. So right now, playing out, we won't hear any change. I'll turn on oscillator 2. And now I'll turn on ring modulation. And you can hear the difference in amplitude as I increase those. So let's turn ring mod off and oscillator 2 off. And now you can hear the difference with all three. Okay? Noise generator. Let's finish up down here. Change my mix all the way to the right so I can hear it. Noise. Okay? Play and hold a note. White noise. Let's change the color. Let's bring that level up a little. There we go. Okay. Now I'm just playing and holding a key. As long as I hold it, the noise keeps going. Okay? Now if I hold it for a long time, you can finally hear it decaying and start to fade away. So that's what we call an attack decay envelope generator. Just a very fast attack, and then it keeps decaying and dying away. All right. Let me shorten that decay time. Now it's got a very fast attack, like a drum, but it dies away or decays and ends really quickly. Make it shorter. All right. So we'll be using our decay control in another lab when we come back and use the noise generator to make drum sounds. All right. Specifically focusing on the noise generator with the color control and the decay control. So that kind of wraps it up for the oscillator section. Again, waveform choice, octave, semi, sense, turning on oscillator 2, your mix control, keyboard tracking, the noise generator, how to get that in, and what the controls down there do. We'll come back in the next video lesson and take a look at the filter section. Okay?